What did you make to the USA, first of all, playing Grenada, which were, of course...
Grenada. Can't say Grenada.
No, you can, because it was a northern television network in the 1980s and 90s who made some terrific television, including Coronation Street. So you can, and I am.
Okay.
And also, I'm not going to get invited there. TNT ain't calling me. You know, Shaq and I want to say Bill. They're going to ring me. Charles, that's it. I knew it was
not
something.
William, Charles.
I knew it was something. That was close. That Niles Barkley, not Charles Barkley. I balls that right out. No, I do know who they are. I just do this for fun. They're just the bouncy one. So I do want to ask some football questions about it. But El Salvador, I mean, are you meant to just be playing nations rejected as not realistic from the Nathan Drake series Uncharted, Pulisic's Revenge?
I knew this was coming because of your distaste for the CONCACAF region. Listen, you can only play who's in front of you.
But that's the point, isn't it? I'm making a serious point with my excellent joke. What's the point of America playing Granada Television and El Salvador, Pulisic's Revenge, and you've got a game against Mexico coming up in April when no Premier League or European players will be released and the MLS season is going on for, sure, some money in that. But, I mean, no one's going to turn up to such a point that you might be on the sideline doing the game and they're like, Dunny, we've got no one else to play right back. You're in. You could get your first full cap because of the ridiculous nature of the US men's schedule when you could have just played Brazil once and actually learned something.
Yeah, I think I might actually have a cap. There's been some there's been some question marks surrounding the official tally of my caps.
Well, you'd have a cap. If you got a cap, you'd have a cap. You get a cap.
No, it's not like that here. We're not as pretentious as you. We don't have T caps that we hand out. Why is it
called a cap?
Little Billy caps. It's because we steal everything.
Nice. The Billy cap thing. The Billy cap thing's really cool. Did you see Ivan Toney get his little Billy cap this week?
It was cool. Yeah.
Nice.
He's never gonna wear it.
No, he might sell it for gambling money.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
He might sell it to his lender for credit.
Curveball. Okay. Two things.
Yes.
One, not all of us can play Luxembourg and score 37 goals.
Hey.
Two.
Hey. Whoa. How dare you? How dare you besmirch the financial center of Luxembourg? I think you'll find it's San Marino, the Granada television of Europe.
Sorry.
Or Gibraltar, the Rockers, Danny Higginbottom, if you're listening.
We are, and Danny, I love Danny's story about representing Gibraltar. Two, Jamaica tied Mexico in Mexico the other day. And and now, because of the way it's looking, dependent upon the results tonight between Canada and Honduras, the U.S. might actually have to play Mexico in the semifinals and not the finals of the Nations League. So again, back to this is the regional tournament. This is what we talked about, trying to make games better, I guess, realer, if that's the right word. So you're not
it's not even a word. Never mind the right word.
Playing at Cal State Fullerton, baby. Playing a team for just 60 minutes and going in and out. The Wednesday one that's coming up on the 19th is a fascinating one because, yes, it's not the international window, but remember this.
Yes.
MLS players will be released for that. So we have two things happening. We kind of have two teams. We've got the European-based team, which we saw primarily for this window, with the exception of Alan Sonora and Alex Zendejas, who play in Liga MX. For how am I going to go blank on this? For
Miles
America and Juarez, and then Miles Robinson from Atlanta United. So Miles Robinson was going to go to the World Cup had he not torn his Achilles, and he would have started at the World Cup. You saw last night; he was incredible. So the MLS-based team came in January for the two friendlies against Serbia and Colombia. This was the European-based team because it was last time they were going to be together until June. The U.S.-Mexico game, it's a made-up game. It's a selling point. I get all that. They're going to put it in Arizona. They're going to sell it out. It's going to be incredible in terms of the environment because it's still U.S.-Mexico. This is similar to what happened a couple summers ago. Greg Berhalter used the primary European-based players to play in the Nations League. And because of the length of the season in Europe, he gave them off the end of June, mid-July Gold Cup because those players need a rest. And especially with this year being so complicated because of the World Cup in the middle of December, the idea is we're getting guys games. We're seeing who can rise to the top in Major League Soccer, who's playing well, who deserves that opportunity. And then depending upon how they play at a quote unquote higher level against the Mexican team that has notoriously been primarily Mexico based, only a few players over in Europe, primarily a Mexico based team. they're going to bring what they think is their strongest possible group. And it's going to be an opportunity for, I would say, the depth of the roster for the U.S. squad to be tested. I know you don't believe in it. I know you don't see it. But right now, with no sporting director, with no general manager, and no head coach. No,
if you've got no manager and no sporting director and no direction, don't throw in an extra pointless game where half your players, the main players, won't play.
I disagree with you, because I think if you look at the MLS based from the starting 11 the other night, there were 7 players, right, that started the World Cup. So you're talking about 4 other players in Major League Soccer that were starting in the World Cup. The opportunity for these MLS players, and we do this thing where we talk about European-based players are better than MLS-based players because Europe's better. I get all that. I understand that. I'm not arguing it.
That's not true. No, that's not directly
I'm not
true.
saying you do. I'm saying this is the narrative.
Yeah, but that might be a narrative. But it's wrong. If you've got a squad of 25, you get your best 25 available players of that nationality, and you put them in a squad. And if you can't play 20 of them because they play for Chelsea and Borussia Dortmund and Union Berlin and whatnot, then there's no point in doing the game. It's free caps. It's giving caps away.
Yeah, it's different now. I would say giving caps away was what it was like when we didn't have a head coach, when Bruce Arena stepped down and Dave Sarachan took over. Because that timeline, 2017 to 2019, before we had a general manager, before we had a head coach, you were identifying anyone who was a dual national, who played in Europe, or had some type of experience in the youth national team that could potentially jump forward. That's not the case anymore. Now it's about depth of roster. When I say depth of roster, I'm talking about depth of literally competing for the top spot in the starting 11 in your respective position. And you look at Matt Turner. A year ago, Matt Turner was an MLS-based goalkeeper who was playing out of his mind, going to an MLS Cup final, going to an MLS All-Star game, and Zach Steffen was sitting on the bench. Now you start to see the ebbs and flows and the ideas of these players playing their domestic football and looking abroad or looking for better opportunities. Now they're having to be more careful. They have to be choosy. Even Ricardo Pepi scored 3 goals in 2 games. He made his big money. He was a dual international, could have gone to Mexico. We get him in the U.S. He's dropping dimes for FC Dallas. He gets his big money move to Augsburg, goes to Augsburg, doesn't work, doesn't play, doesn't score goals, gets left off the roster. And next thing you know, he's pissed, hangs up on Greg Berhalter when Greg Berhalter calls to let him know he's not taking him. And he's been scoring goals left and right. Now he comes back into the team. He's double birds in everybody, saying, I should have been the starting striker at the World Cup. Look at what I'm capable of doing. So the depth of, especially these MLS players, the Brandon Vasquez's, those type of, like, you have to give these guys opportunity against high level opponents, because not only do you want to see if they can perform at an international level, you want these guys to showcase themselves and say, all right, is Europe the right answer? Is South America the right answer? Is there a next level for them? And that's what those, I get it, but that's what those games against Mexico give opportunity to.
Yes, but the two things shouldn't be mutually exclusive. Number one, good opponents. Number two, games that matter. You've got to put your hands together and make that jam sandwich. That's what I'm saying.